Hey everyone, welcome to week 4 of the college football season. My name is Mike Browning. I'm the host of College Football Road Trip at cfbroadtrip.com. And this week I'm coming to you live from the state capital, the great state of Montana, Helena, Montana. You might be asking yourself, Mike, what are you doing in Montana? There's no FBS teams in Montana. And I would say you're correct. But with me not going on any actual college football trips this year, I decided to go a little bit out of my way and visit a state that I've never been to before. So I'm visiting Montana all of this week. Part of my trips has been to visit Montana State and Bozeman, and I will also be visiting Montana University and Missoula in a couple days, and I'll be writing about all that and my entire trip in Montana and putting it in my blog in a couple weeks, so be sure to go and check that out. In the meantime, we have some games going on this week. Let's see if we can get all 10 in this week. Last week, 2 of the games I picked ended up being canceled, so I finished with a 6-2 record last week. With all that said, the SEC is picking up this week, and that's where we're going to start off this week's picks. Our first game this week is number 5 Florida traveling to Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's first game at Ole Miss. The question is, how is he going to be able to do in an SEC school after being very successful at Florida Atlanta the last few years? The answer is, I think over time he'll do good, but not this week, not against the number 5 team in the country. Florida's going to have way too much for him this week. I have number 5 Florida winning at Ole Miss in our first game of the week. Our second game is another SEC matchup. We have number 23 Kentucky traveling to number 8 Auburn. Auburn is one of those schools that you never know what you're going to get one season to another. Some years they're competing for a national championship. Other teams, is the head coach going to get fired by the end of the year? This year, I'm not sure, but I do think that they're definitely going to win their first game of the season against Kentucky. So I have Auburn beating Kentucky in SEC play. Our next game of the week goes to the ACC. We have number 24 Louisville traveling to number 21 Pittsburgh. Louisville is a team that I picked to beat Miami last week. Miami ended up being a lot stronger than I thought they would on their way to a win last week. The question is Louisville going to pop back? Pittsburgh did come off a pretty decent win over Syracuse, but Syracuse isn't that great a team this year. So I do think Louisville's going to be able to bounce back from their loss last week. I think they're going to be able to go on the road, and I think they will pull out the win over Pittsburgh. So I have Louisville winning over Pittsburgh. Let's go to the Big 12 next. We have Iowa State traveling to TCU. We know what happened with Iowa State the last time they played. The Fun Belt, Sun Belt took them out. The question is, how is Iowa State going to bounce back in their Big 12 conference opener? The thing is, they're playing a TCU team that still hasn't played a game yet this year, with their first game getting canceled. So the question becomes, and this will happen on a couple games this week, will the team that actually has played a game, even though they lost, end up being better prepared than a team that hasn't played a game yet this season? And I think in this game, Iowa State is going to end up being beneficial of having their second game of the season this week. So I think Iowa State will pull it out. I have Iowa State winning on the road at TCU in Big 12 play. Next, let's go to number 22 Army traveling to number 14 Cincinnati. I'm a little sad this week because this week I was supposed to be in West Point for the Oklahoma Army game. Obviously that game didn't pan out. This is one of those games that came up at the last second. We have Army traveling on the road to Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a great team. I think Cincinnati is going to be right up there competing for, if not winning, the group of 5 game to the Bowl Championship Series. So with that said, Cincinnati has to be able to win this game in order to go to that bowl, and I think they will pull it out, and I think they'll do it pretty convincingly as well, especially at home. Number 14 Cincinnati will beat number 22 Army. Let's go back to a Big 12 matchup. This time we have West Virginia traveling to number 15 Oklahoma State. This is a matchup of two different teams as far as how they looked in the non-conference opener. West Virginia absolutely destroyed Eastern Kentucky, although Eastern Kentucky is a pretty lower class FCS school. Oklahoma State struggled mightily against Tulsa. They trailed going into the fourth quarter before pulling away. They lost the quarterback. I don't know if he's going to come back anytime soon or be able to play this week. The question is, what team is going to show up for both of these schools? I think West Virginia is a lot better than a lot of people thought they would be at the beginning of this year, and I think that's going to hold off against this week with an upset of Oklahoma State. I have West Virginia traveling on the road and upsetting number 15 Oklahoma State. Our next matchup is another ACC matchup in Florida. We have Florida State traveling to number 12 Miami. I kind of mentioned Miami a little bit earlier. De'Ara King looked great last week. Obviously, he came over from Houston where he had a great season at Houston. And now I think going to Miami and having some better weapons around him, I think Miami has a chance to compete for an ACC title this year. In order to do that, they're going to have to go and beat Florida State this week. Florida State struggled and lost to Georgia Tech a couple weeks ago. I think those struggles are going to continue again this week. I have Miami winning at home over Florida State. Next, let's go to another SEC matchup. We have number 16, Tennessee, traveling to South Carolina. Tennessee is one of those schools that every single year going into the season, everybody thinks they're going to be a top 25 team, and then something happens and they end up falling off the map. Last year, towards the end of the season, they ended up starting to get a lot better, and I think that's actually going to carry over to this season. I think that they are a top 25 team legitimately this year, and hopefully they show that this week by winning. So I have number 16 Tennessee winning at South Carolina in SEC play. Next, let's go to another ACC matchup. We have NC State traveling to number 20 Virginia Tech. The first game of the season for Virginia Tech. The question is, how are they going to look? NC State has struggled a little bit in their first game of the season. I think Virginia Tech's going to come out. Virginia Tech's going to have a lot of firepower. This is one of those opposite scenarios where I think even though it's their first game of the year, Virginia Tech will have a better game and will be able to win this game. I have number 20 Virginia Tech winning at home over NC State. And our final matchup for this week, we have Troy traveling to number 18 BYU. Troy's that Sunbelt Fun Belt team that looked really good against Middle Tennessee last week. BYU is a team that looked a lot better than I expected against Navy, where they blew out Navy a couple of weeks ago. The question is, is Troy going to put up a better fight than Navy will? I think the answer is yes. I think this is going to be a close game for the first three quarters. And then I think at the end, BYU at home is going to find a way to pull it out. I have BYU winning at home over Troy. So those are our 10 matchups for this week. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you have a great week of watching college football. Again, be sure to check out my website over the next couple of weeks as I write all about my trip in and through Montana. It's been a beautiful journey. In the meantime, have a great week. We'll talk to you again next week.